Tracy Sable. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly, let the race begin. Reaction and analysis from the opening Republican presidential debate, including what the candidates said about abortion. Deadly wildfire. Officials in Hawaii have a sobering update on the number of people still missing from the blaze. Rising threat. The United States pledges military aid to Taiwan. How Beijing is responding. And some assembly required. A parish in North Carolina has sent millions of boxed meals to one of the world's most needy countries. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us on the Feast of St. Bartholomew. Our top story tonight, the Republican presidential campaign officially kicked off last night in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 8 candidates sometimes traded barbs. All of them took aim at the Biden administration, along with the frontrunner, former President Donald Trump, who did not attend. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales joins us now with a recap. Eric?
Well, good evening, Tracy. Yes, former President Donald Trump is the current frontrunner by double digits. He rivaled the debate last night with a pre-recorded interview with former Fox News host Tucker Carlson. As for the debate itself, the 8 squared off on a variety of issues, including the economy, the crime and drugs epidemic, and, of course, abortion.
Can't we have a minimum standard in every state in the nation that says when a baby is capable of feeling pain, an abortion cannot be allowed? A 15-week ban is an idea whose time has come.
Let's find consensus. Can't we all agree that we should ban late-term abortions? Can't we all agree that we should encourage adoptions? Can't we all agree that doctors and nurses who don't believe in abortion shouldn't have to perform them?
What the Democrats are trying to do on this issue is wrong, to allow abortion all the way up to the moment of birth.
The candidates also addressed former President Donald Trump's legal problems. Some took shots at him. Others praised the actions of the vice president during the contested 2020 election.
I'm not going to support somebody who's been convicted of a serious felony or who is disqualified under our Constitution.
Mike Pence stood for the Constitution. And he deserves not grudging credit. He deserves our thanks as Americans.
Candidates also targeted the Biden administration, saying that there have been numerous failures at home and abroad.
And I think that this is disastrous, that we are protecting against an invasion across somebody else's border when we should use those same military resources to prevent across the invasion of our own southern border here in the United States.
We need anti-ship missiles on Taiwan. The way that you have a war never start, which is the goal, the way you have peace through strength, is that you actually have strength. You actually have deterrence.
If we just spend $10 billion, we could finish the wall. For $5 billion more, we could have the military-grade technology to surveil our southern border to stop the flow of fentanyl.
During Trump's interview, the former president explained why he remains popular despite the criminal allegations.
The people see it's a fraud. The people see it. Like this horrible district attorney. She said, basically, I don't have any right to challenge an election. Well, what about Stacey Abrams? What about Hillary Clinton? What about all of these Democrats that are still challenging my election?
It was interesting. After the debate, Democratic leadership immediately began pushing out several releases stating that it showed the GOP's extremism. They criticized the candidates in particular on the abortion issue. The next GOP debate is going to be held September 27th. At the Capitol, Eric Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
Joining us now with his reaction on the first Republican primary debate is editorial director at the Daily Caller, Vince Coglianese. Vince, great to be with you as always, my friend. First off, I want to ask you, what was the biggest takeaway, at least for you, from last night's debate?
My big takeaway is that whoever didn't know Vivek Ramaswamy now knows him a lot better. That guy appears on stage. He's a businessman, a tech entrepreneur, stands center stage alongside Ron DeSantis because Ramaswamy was polling at technically number 3 in that Republican race, number 2 on the stage. And he dominated the night, and he did it in a number of ways. He mixed it up with the other candidates. Every time you have a fight with another candidate on stage, that means more time for you to speak. And he was plain spoken. He cut right to the chase. He cast himself, much like Trump did in 2016, as the outsider who was willing to cut through the bought and paid for candidates who were standing alongside him. Those were his words last night. And I'm telling you, just having been a part of certainly conservative media and watching the rise of Donald Trump and his presidency, Vivek Ramaswamy, the reception he's getting today, is one that is very positive among the Republican base. Now, does that mean that Donald Trump has lost support and that it's going to Ramaswamy? Well, that is yet to be seen. I don't think that's the case. But still, in terms of the people who appeared on that stage, Vivek did very well.
Yeah, he took a lot of heat as well, too.
Big time, big time. And that's, I think, on purpose. One, given his standing in the polls, I think there were a lot of people on that stage who were prepared to attack him in order to drag him down. And I think that also the reason that there were people trying to take shots at him in part was so that they, too, could have more time to speak. Mike Pence comes to mind. Pence was one of the earliest to begin attacking Vivek Ramaswamy. And that, interestingly, Pence, who was polling a little bit lower than both of these other men, DeSantis and Ramaswamy, he got a lot more time to speak on stage as a result of that. All of the fights that Pence got in last night led to people hearing from the former vice president.
Yeah, any other surprises for you, Vince?
One surprise to me was how little Ron DeSantis spoke relative to the rest of the stage. DeSantis, although I think he did have a fair amount of speaking time, he seemed to disappear on stage and kind of fade into the background. That could be the product of nobody actually trying to attack Ron DeSantis. DeSantis does have a great record among Republicans and certainly for the country as a governor in Florida. And there were no shots fired in his direction. Perhaps that's on purpose. None of the other candidates wanted to give Ron DeSantis more time on stage. That could explain it. But I thought DeSantis didn't really fight to get his voice out as much as he probably should have to make an impression on this early Republican primary crowd.
Yeah, and they talked obviously about a lot of issues, including abortion. Let's discuss that and a variety of viewpoints shared there. Who do you think stood out on that issue?
I think a couple of people stood out. I thought Tim Scott stood out. I think because he made, a very forceful argument for the protection of life. There was definitely disagreement on that stage, that is, about what could be accomplished. Nikki Haley once again returned to this idea that, well, at the federal level, we won't be able to keep babies from dying to the same extent because the states all disagree on this subject, and we have to be pragmatic about what we can actually accomplish. I just don't think that flies with a Republican primary audience. They're looking, I think, primarily to protect life. And although there were, I think many of the candidates on stage tried to point out, Nikki Haley among them, that the left's position on abortion is deeply extremist and radical, and that includes the mainstream position. I saw some Democrats reacting on social media last night suggesting nobody wants abortion all the way up until birth. That's just not true. The Democrats advanced legislation in 2022 designed to codify the notion that a child could be aborted all the way up until the moment of birth. And certainly we've seen a number of high-profile Democrats, to include the former governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam, indicate that abortion may not be even limited to the time in the womb, which is horrific to say. He suggested that a failed abortion that led to a live birth would lead to a conversation between a mother and a doctor to decide what to do with the baby and whether or not they'd allow it to survive. Just gruesome stuff, very extreme. And Republicans would do well to confront that.
Vince, one person, as we know, notably missing from the debate was former President Donald Trump. And instead, as you know, he took part in an interview with Tucker Carlson. Your thoughts on that? And what did you think of that strategy?
Well, it certainly grabbed the camera and pulled it away from the debate last night to an extent. As of midday today, about some 200 million times that video has been viewed on the platform formerly known as Twitter, now X. And in that conversation, I thought it was interesting to hear that Donald Trump, the former president, remains undeterred by all of the efforts to take him down, including these very politicized indictments that he's been subjected to over and over and over again. He says he's enduring because of the massive support that continues to back him, and that gives him energy.
Really, right there, Vince. Always great to be with you and get your insights. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Well, in other news, officials in Hawaii say 1,100 people are officially missing following the deadly wildfires 2 weeks ago. More than 100 people were killed in the blazes. There are fears the number of missing will continue to rise. Well, while President Joe Biden continues his vacation in Nevada, the war in Ukraine rages on. And today, President Biden released a statement reaffirming that the U.S. will continue to, quote, support Ukraine's ability to defend itself against Russia's aggression. White House correspondent Owen Jensen says the president also announced new sanctions. Owen.
Tracy, in Ukraine, where the war now has dragged on for 18 brutal months, thousands of people killed, it's Independence Day. And President Biden marking the day by writing that Ukrainians have lived under daily attacks from Russian rockets, adding the people there, quote, have refused to break.
As loved ones and residents remember and honor fallen soldiers at this cemetery in Ukraine, President Joe Biden releases a statement today warning that those responsible for war crimes will be held accountable. That includes the forcible removal of thousands of Ukrainian children to Russia. These children have been stolen from their parents and kept apart from their families. It's unconscionable. The president adding, we are announcing new sanctions to hold those responsible for these forced transfers and deportations to account. Meanwhile, Russian mercenary chief Yevgeny Prigozhin presumed dead in a plane crash, a possible assassination of a man who crossed Russian President Vladimir Putin, who has now broken his silence on the crash that killed top leaders of the Wagner mercenary group. Putin expressed condolences for those who were aboard the jet, including Prigozhin. When President Biden was asked about it yesterday and whether Putin was behind it,
there's not much that happens when Russia is Putin not behind it. I don't know enough to know the answer.
Also today, taxpayer dollars, your money, stolen during the pandemic. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre is saying in a statement, today, the Department of Justice announced enforcement actions and charges for crimes related to an additional $836 million in alleged COVID-19 fraud, with federal charges against more than 300 additional defendants. The Justice Department has now recovered over $1.4 billion, and more than 3,000 defendants have been charged.
Also tonight, the economy. As President Biden remains on vacation for a few more days, it is no vacation for home buyers. Right now, mortgage rates sitting at 7.23%, the highest since going back to 2001. Higher rates, of course, can add hundreds of dollars to that monthly mortgage bill. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
And we have a lot more still to come here on EWTN News Nightly, including Eye on Asia. Chinese officials speak out against U.S. military aid to Taiwan, and Pope Francis encourages unity amid a high-profile meeting in northern Italy. China's foreign ministry is slamming U.S. approval of a $500 million arms sale to Taiwan.
严重违反一个中国原则和中美3个联合公报。 特别是817公报的规定。
Beijing's foreign ministry spokesperson says the deal, quote, undermines China's sovereignty and security interests. The sale includes infrared search tracking systems as well as equipment for advanced F-16 fighter jets. Well, the Ortega regime in Nicaragua has declared the Jesuit order illegal, adding it will confiscate all of the religious order's property. Government officials say the order failed to report its proper taxes. The order, known as the Society of Jesus, is condemning the measures. Earlier this month, the Ortega regime took over a Jesuit-run school. More recently, it evicted several priests from their home near the campus. This week marks the annual gathering in northern Italy of faith leaders and lay people. The high-profile event even received a message from Pope Francis. The Catholic Movement of Communion and Liberation sponsors the six-day event. It features discussions on cultural, religious, and political issues important to the faithful. The Holy Father sent his message to mark the 44th annual Rimini Meeting. Joining us now from Rome is Jonathan Liedl, senior editor at the National Catholic Register. Jonathan, great to be with you again. So tell us more about what the Holy Father said to the attendees at the Rimini meeting. And is it common for the Pope to send a message to the gathering?
Yeah, Tracy. So it's not just common for the Pope to send a message every year to the Rimini meeting, but past popes have even attended. John Paul II attended in 1982, and the future Benedict XVI, Joseph Ratzinger, attended in 1990. So this is an event that is very significant in the eyes of the church. In terms of Pope Francis's message this year, he really celebrated the meeting's theme on human friendship. He said that we're in a moment of division and conflict in the world. And so not only the theme of the meeting, but even the event itself is really a source of this culture of encounter that he believes is part of the solution. So definitely high praise from the Pope.
Yeah, and I know you were there for several days. Talk to us a little bit more about that, the event, and what were some of the highlights?
Yeah, well, the Rimini Meeting, it's really a kind of, it's a one-of-a-kind event. So it's put on by Communion and Liberation, a Catholic movement, but it's really inspired by this desire to see Christ in all of reality. So it pulls in people not only from the church, but from some of the biggest names in Italian and European politics, culture, and business. So some of the highlights, I would say, were definitely Cardinal Matteo Zuppi, who is Pope Francis's special envoy for peace in Ukraine speaking. And even just yesterday, actually, Sergio Mattarella, who is the president of Italy, spoke as well. So obviously with big speakers like this, it draws quite a crowd. 80,000 people come out and attend this event in person over the course of the week. And also a lot of press coverage as well. So it's really, I would say, one of the biggest stages in Italian culture.
Yeah, and I know last Sunday, during the first day of the meeting, discussion turned to American Dorothy Day, who, of course, is a 20th century socialist turned Catholic worker who is now a servant of God. Jonathan, tell us, what was said about that and why this could be really important.
Yeah, well, I think because Rimini, as we just said, is such a big stage in Italian culture, to have Servant of God Dorothy Day, whose process of canonization is now being reviewed in Rome, to have her featured is a really big deal. She was really highlighted as a model of this kind of Christian friendship and really a witness to the truth of the gospel. So interestingly, the presentation on Dorothy Day coincided with Pope Francis writing the preface of a new translation of one of her autobiographical works that was just released. And I actually talked to people at the event who told me the idea to feature Dorothy Day at Rimini actually came from the Vatican. So there's a clear sense that Dorothy Day has a lot of favor from Pope Francis and Rome and may be well on her way towards canonization, with a bit of a pit stop at the Rimini Meeting.
Jonathan, we have probably 30 seconds left or so, but anything else you want to share with us about Rimini?
Yeah, well, I would encourage people in the U.S. This movement's put on by Communion and Liberation. And there's actually something similar we have at home in New York City every February called the New York Encounter. It's much smaller scale, but a beautiful opportunity to come out and see how the impact of the incarnation and how the Christian life should make us engage with reality more fully and really embrace truth, goodness, and beauty wherever we can find it. So check that out this coming February in Manhattan.
All right. Sounds wonderful. Jonathan, great to be with you. We appreciate it. God bless.
Thank you, Tracy.
Up next on EWTN News Nightly, back in business, an update on a Catholic farmer removed from a farmer's market in Michigan over his views on marriage. Plus, food for thought, how a Catholic parish in North Carolina is helping the most needy in Haiti. Farmer in Michigan can continue business at a local market. Officials in East Lansing had banned him from the farmer's market after he refused to rent his wedding venue to same-sex couples. This week, a court ruled in his favor, saying the city had violated the farmer's constitutional rights. Finally tonight, a group from a parish in Charlotte, North Carolina, visited Haiti several years ago. They asked what they could do to help. They were told the people in the Caribbean nation need food. So St. Matthew Catholic Church went into action, and by the end of their latest World Hunger Drive earlier this month, they had sent 300,000 meals to Haiti. The total number since the initiative began 2 decades ago, 3.1 million meals. Just incredible. And now we go to Stephen Favory, Executive Director of the Hands for Haiti Project, founded by parishioners at St. Matthew Church, and Ernest Dwight, Chairman of the Board for Hands for Haiti. Welcome to you both. Ernest, I want to start with you. Tell us more about this initiative and how it all began.
Well, it began about 20 years ago. Steve actually was one of the originators of the World Hunger Drive concept. And we began raising money to send food to the poorest of the poor, and certainly Haiti is in that category. Started with the meal packing, a small asking people to bring food to the gym, shipped to Haiti. And over the years, it evolved into the meal packing event, which we now do, and which Steve runs every year.
That is wonderful. And Steve, I want to talk to you next. I mean, let's get into the numbers here. Really, really unbelievable. I mean, in the recent most food drive, volunteers, I understand, from St. Matthew made around 300,000 meals, and the total over the past 2+ decades, as we mentioned, is more than 3 million meals. What do you think motivates people to volunteer and help out and continue to do so?
We've done well to make our parishioners feel like the folks in Haiti are part of our family. And it's critical to for them to understand how important this food is needed by them. The meal packs, the containers we sent, and they understand how critical it is. We do have mission trips down there. We have a lot of parishioners that've been down there. They see the need. They help spread that need throughout our large parish. We are.
Deacon Joe Becker was on the board of Hands for Haiti.
We are always looking to help these people, both at St. Mark's School and also the missionaries of the port.
And for many of the people who receive these meals, this is the only meal they receive of the entire day. And so going to Haiti and seeing firsthand the impact these meals have is really, really tremendous. It makes you convinced that it's a worthwhile thing to support.
Yeah, and I kind of want to jump off of that. You know, I actually read an article recently that said about 97% of households in some parts of Haiti suffer from severe hunger. That said, Ernest, I'm going to ask you this. I mean, what has been the reaction from those who receive these food boxes from you all? I mean, what have you seen or heard?
We hear just unbelievable levels of thanks and appreciation. There's an absolute understanding of the people in Haiti that what we're doing for them is making a difference, is keeping people alive. And we use a lot of these meals are fed to the students at St. Mark's School, which our organization, Hands for Haiti, runs. And we long ago realized that the students are going to learn, they have to be fed. They have to be able to be healthy in order to learn. And so when we're down there, we see firsthand our students are growing, they're healthy, and their families benefit from the meals that we can provide to the families, as well as the meals that we feed the students at the school.
But it is sad because I was just down there in late June and talked to the children, and yes, this is the only meal they get. This is the hot meal that we prepare at St. Mark's School. And we're one of the few schools that actually still prepares hot meals for the children.
And we're feeding about 350, 375 students every day at the school, as well as feeding a staff of about 60 Haitian cooks and security personnel and maintenance people and teachers. So we know for a fact that we're having a real impact on the lives of the people in the northern rural community where our school is located, and in Cap Haitian, where a lot of the meals go to the missionaries of the poor to serve the hundreds of people that they house and tend to.
Oh, God bless you all for all that you do. We're almost out of time, but I'm curious, is there anything else that maybe you want our viewers to know about the situation in Haiti, or maybe how they can help?
Yes, well, the situation in Haiti is very grim, obviously. And we raise money to operate our school, and they can help us by going to our website, handsforhaiti.org, and learning about the school. And a lot of the meal packs and the food that we ship down from St. Matthew's goes to the school. And so we run a year-round operation at the school, and certainly people can help us by supporting that, as well as praying for us, and as well as when we do the annual World Hunger Drive at St. Matthew Church, helping to fund that and participate in that meal packing process. We don't think that we can change the country.
Well, Stephen, Ernest,
but if we can influence a life or two or three, then it makes all of our efforts worthwhile.
Absolutely. Well, Stephen, Ernest, thank you, gentlemen, both so much for coming on and telling us all about this. We appreciate it. God bless you both and all of your volunteers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracy.
And we thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, now known as X, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Tracy Sable. Good night and God bless.